Hey everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode number 272. I've got Tom back on the show, and I'm going to warn you that we are going to go a little bit deep straight from the off.
Yeah, we've got a really good question this week.
We have.
Should be some quite good information. Just to let everybody know as well that we recorded this about 2 weeks early. I am currently on holiday. I don't always wear the same clothes when we do podcasts.
Me neither. In fact, I do. Because I work from home, I'll have an outfit, and then I'll take the outfit off at the end of the day. I'll put it at the end of the bed, and then I'll get up before my girlfriend, put the outfit on again as I sneak outside the room. So I'll quite often be seen in the same shit for a good couple of days. And I don't care. I don't smell, so it's okay.
Confession time.
Right, we're going to go straight into this week's questions. So, Tom, take us away.
Let's go. Hello, Ben. I finished listening to the latest episode with Shelley McCoy, and I realised I needed help. I don't know where to start. Until 6 months ago, I had a goal. I was training for amateur MMA fights, sticking to my meal plan, and had a dream of becoming a professional fighter. This all changed after my second fight. As a result of some illegal strikes, I suffered a gnarly concussion. I was asked not to continue fighting, so I stopped. Shortly after my concussion started to heal, I injured my shoulder. It's finally healed, and I'm working to build the strength back. While I was injured, I put on a significant amount of weight. I've been cutting weight for so long, eating mostly sweet potatoes, fish and asparagus, that I spun out of control when I didn't have to anymore. I've been in a bit of a rut. I feel like my dream was taken from me, and I don't know what to replace it with. I still want to get out there. I've gone back to my gym and have had many a bad day. My jiu-jitsu has regressed so much that I'm embarrassed to work with anyone. I went to a conventional gym once, but it had been so long since I'd been there I didn't know what to do. I don't know if you can help me. I can't tell if my problem's something I need to straighten out mentally or if I just need to work out again. Either way, I don't know where to start. I had a structure for so long that I don't have any. I don't know how to get it back. I miss feeling strong. I miss my clothes being a little too big. I miss feeling like a badass. I appreciate the work that you and Rachel do, and I love the honesty of the show. Thank you, sincerely, Elizabeth.
So I think me and Tom are going to come at this from similar angles, but I'm going to believe that maybe our approach is slightly differently, because me and Tom, like everyone, have had different backgrounds of our own kind of fitness journey, and I think that's a good thing. We covered this, or we covered a similar scenario of how I'm going to approach this a while ago on the show, when we talked about someone that had fallen down the stairs and had, I think, a bad laceration to their arm, or basically it had done some pretty serious damage and it knocked them off course. And as kind of sadistic as it is, I believe that everything in our lives happens for a reason. And I believe that some of us just have the capacity to see it at any given time, and some of us need to learn why that might have happened over the next 1 year, 2, 3 years, I don't know, however long it kind of takes. Now, the reason why I'm having this kind of perspective with this question is that you had a really bad incident going into the ring. You got a bad concussion, and something was telling you, get out of the ring. This isn't actually your purpose. You're in the ring fighting for something that you're not actually going to get out of properly long term. So what you're trying to satisfy in your character makeup is not actually going to be satisfied as much as you think it is by doing MMA. So you got injured, you came out, you were starting to do some stuff again, and then you injured your shoulder. For me, that is a second show. That is your cards being dealt again, saying, get out of the ring. Now, we do things in life to satisfy, on some level, an emotional need. So, I play rugby for a set of kind of characteristics. I like the environment of kind of being competitive. I like the challenge, because I see rugby as almost like go into war. It's Saturday, it's game day, you're in the changing rooms, you're all sat around like, let's go and fuck them guys up. We're going to send them back home. Cuts, bleeding, bruised, everything. But actually after 80 minutes, we're going to buy each other a pint, have a high five, and if we have enough beers, we might get naked together and run around the rugby pitches. I also like being challenged with rugby because the type of training, I like kind of beasting my body, I like keeping on top of my fitness. So rugby right now is a really good stimulus for me physically. And I think that might change. Now there's probably components of MMA that you really like. It really challenges you. You like kind of fighting. But I think some of the components of that sport won't actually match what you're trying to find in that sport. So I think with everyone, and they say sort of, let's look at boxing. I think boxing is another sporting environment, or is a sporting environment, where people have said that it's kind of almost saved people sometimes. They've taken people that have had a lot of anger in their lives for one reason or another, and they've channeled it in the boxing ring. And they've stopped that person from lashing out in the street and becoming, a bit of a nuisance outside of the boxing ring. So boxing has allowed them to channel a certain amount of anger or need to kind of fight or show aggression. So MMA is providing something for you, but I don't think it's the complete picture. And I think you've got to be really reflective and honest with yourself and say, what is it that I want? What is it that I'm potentially running away from confronting? What potential pain is there in my environment and my background that I'm seeking to fix or temporarily appease by being in this environment? And this is where I think, I've learned more, a greater perspective from people like Stephen Ace that we've had on the show and other people where, we're all built and wired a certain way. And that, we only have so much capacity to change who we are as people, because literally the majority of who we are has been wired as a result of our childhood. And there's only so much capacity we have to change that as an adult. What we really try and do as adults is we try and find the best ways to manage kind of who we are as people and not let certain behaviours potentially become destructive in any way and cause sort of ourselves pain, other people pain, etc. So I think it's a case of, what does MMA provide for you? What actually, could that energy be better applied to? Because at the moment, it's telling me that is not really your path, and potentially long term, you're going to get hurt and it's going to lead to some more worse stuff.
That's fair. I mean, I think I'm going to attack this from a somewhat different angle to you, actually. Because what I'm seeing here is someone who felt like they were in control. They were doing everything that they wanted to do. And then something that was out of their control took that away from them. Now, that to me sounds like a fairly classic case of learned self-helplessness, which is where basically you lose your self-efficacy. So you feel like regardless of what you do, it ain't going to work, because when you've tried before, something outside of your control, some extrinsic factor, took the thing away from you and it was unavoidable. It's quite often with athletes or people who are really into their training who get injured. It's one of the reasons that people who get injured end up quite often with either depression or depressive sort of symptoms, because you've lost that control. So the way to get that back is twofold. The first one is you need to start to teach yourself that you are in control again. And the best way to do that is with small wins. So that's doing little things that seem almost irrelevant, but it's something that you aren't doing now that you feel like you should be doing and that it would improve your life if you did it, and that you can do. So, for example, I coach a lot of people who try to lose weight and failed a lot of times. So I see this quite a lot. And one of the big things that I get them to do is to clean their kitchen. And it's because it's something they know they should do, but they probably avoided it. And as soon as they do it, they stand back and go, shit, I can change things, I can do stuff, I can make the difference. And that puts you back into a position where you're in control of things and you're more able to take stock and go, right, okay, what do we do next? And the thing that you do next is to create a plan. So what Elizabeth said here is that I can't tell if it's something I need to do. Either way, I don't know where to start. I had structure and now I don't have any. I don't know how to get it back. The only way you're going to get structure back is if you create it for yourself. So there's been a reasonable amount of research, sort of neurobiological research, which shows that if you reflect and meditate upon your values, it activates a little area in the front of your brain that then basically turns on your ability to alter your habits. And that has been shown to improve your outcomes from health-based interventions. So what I'm telling you to do is essentially sit down and work out, as Ben said, why MMA meant something to you, what it was giving you, and what it provided in your life that you found valuable. And from that, you'll be able to create a plan in order to get that thing back. It may be MMA, it may be jiu-jitsu, it may not be, but if you can set yourself SMART goals, so things that are achievable, specific and measurable, and then you can set process goals. So, okay, my SMART goal is to get back into jiu-jitsu. Therefore, my process goal is, first of all, I'm going to find a jiu-jitsu gym. I'm going to find a coach that I can work with one-to-one. Maybe take some beginner classes. I know it'll take a little bit of a hit to the ego, but if you're feeling unconfident, the best thing to do is to go to a beginner class and find it easy. Then my other process goal is I'm going to set aside 2 hours a week where I can do some conditioning work on my own, maybe go for a run, do something that's going to get your physical development back to some degree where you're in control of what your body's doing, and that can help you to come back from these injuries. Another thing that I think is worth doing is essentially rationalising the fear. It sounds kind of like, I apologise, Elizabeth, if I'm being presumptuous, but it sounds like you're almost afraid of going back in case A, you get injured, or B, you're rubbish at it. And the thing is, you need to work out why that makes you afraid. And again, I'm being presumptuous here, but generally, it'll be because that shows you that you're not good at it anymore. But the thing is, the most effective way to show yourself that you're not good at it anymore is to stop doing it. So of those two options, have a go or don't have a go, having a go is the option that gives you the best outcome. So it's really easy to say, but if you can rationalise that fear and work out why does it make you afraid and what it would mean for you if it didn't make you afraid anymore, then it can be a little bit easier to sort of have another crack at it. And then before I let Ben interject, because he's been very patient, because I've gone on a ramble for a really long time, as a wider point, like I'm not aiming this specifically at you, Elizabeth, but just as a wider point, I think it's really important that people who are into fitness and into the gym try really hard not to identify themselves with the sport that they do. So MMA fighters, boxers, bodybuilders, powerlifters, that's not who you are. You are a person that does that as a hobby, or even if you're a professional, you're a person that does that as your sport. The thing is, if you identify yourself solely with the exercise that you do, then if that is taken away from you for whatever reason, then you're kind of in a position where you're like, shit, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know where to start. I don't know what else I can do. It's really important to make sure that you have other hobbies, that you've got other stuff that you enjoy, and you've got other stuff that you can apply yourself to, because you ain't going to be able to do it forever. And even if you are going to be able to do it for the rest of your life, there's always going to be gaps, and you just need something else to do. So, for example, I like going for walks. I'm pretty into computer games at the minute, and I like reading. They're all things that I do outside of the sport that I do, which means that if I get injured, I'm not now sat on the couch looking at the wall and going, shit, I can't lift. Because it means that I haven't identified myself as that.
Tom, I think that was awesome. So true. And, you know, when people say to me, I'm bored, I don't get how people can get bored. And I'm like, I say to people, like, what are you interested in? How are you not interested in shit? Like, it's literally impossible for me to get bored. Like, I would love a day in my life to be 100 hours long. I'd work, I'd train, I'd read, I'd run, I'd walk the dog, I'd meditate, I'd watch some TV, I'd play some computer games as well. Like, there's just so much I want to do in 24 hours. I just don't get how people get bored. And it's incredible, like, the amount of people that moan about their jobs But actually, when it gets to the weekend, people only really can fill up half a weekend. And then you can see that they're just a bit bored, a bit edgy. I'm like, no, give me a weekend that's 7 days long. Let's go. Like, party time. I've got so much to do. And I don't know, is this why people quite often end up drinking a lot of alcohol? Because it's a way to just like easily pass the time, chat shit, do silly things? I don't know. Perhaps that's a component. So I think having multiple things that makes up you as a person is really important. You know, the tangent that I went off on is 100% applicable to you, and the tangent that Tom went on is 100% applicable to you. You've just got to find out where it is on that spectrum that you need to implement these strategies. I could be right, Tom could be right, I could be right for other people, Tom could be right for other people, and it's just us being able to give you a set of skills so that you can be objective and say, okay, this is what I need to do. And I totally identify, and I'm going to use a couple of personal experiences here, totally identify what Tom's saying about small task doing. So at the moment, I'm really busy with work because we're trying to finish our new foundation academy for when the students enroll in September. And I'm literally working 14, 16 hours a day, non-stop, have been for a while. And there's moments in my day, because there's a lot on, I feel like I lose a sense of control. And to regain control, I do a couple of things. I go and train in my garage gym, but while I'm in the garage, I clean it. So I move things around, I put things in places, I sweep it, I tell the spiders to fuck off, you know, because it gives me a sense of control. I make sure I do the washing up before I go to bed. So I don't come down in the morning and I see mess, because that annoys me, because it means I see mess before I go and work. So that's another way my brain is going to feel scrambled, because a mess of plates will make me look at my email or my document differently. I just know. I will go and walk the dog, because it allows me to turn off my phone and get a little bit of perspective. Or it might be that I say, oh, screw it, I'm going to jump into my emails and make sure all of my essential stuff is done, so that I don't have this kind of a bit of anxiety that I'm leaving everyone hanging because people are waiting on me for stuff. And I know some of my staff members that work in our team are kind of like that as well. Like when we've got a big job on and you're kind of sat there with a couple of little jobs and a big job, the brain naturally wants to get rid of the little jobs before it can tackle the big job. Because otherwise those little jobs are sitting there and you're thinking, oh shit, is that person waiting for me? Oh God, he can't do that. And it's just a feeling of not being in control. And I really like Tom bringing that up. It's fantastic, because I've noticed me doing that naturally. I'll literally come in and I'm like, right, no, first I'm doing the washing up, because that's fucking me off.
Yeah.
And then I feel in control, and then I go and do.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, having something to do and finishing it just kind of makes humans feel good. Like, we've got deep inbuilt brain systems which will reward us for completing tasks, or they'll reward us for moving towards tasks. And then that should be almost like, that should almost tell you something about how valuable that is to have in life, to have small tasks that you can complete on a regular basis and just teach yourself that, yeah, you're able to do shit. Because, I mean, if you think about who do you admire in life? Like, if you can think of anyone that you admire the person that can take on a lot of stuff and manage it. And that kind of evolved as a brain system, because basically the people who were most successful were the people that managed to take on and manage the most stuff. And we evolved to emulate the people who were successful. So in order to emulate people who are successful, you need to take things on, and those things are going to have to start small, because initially you're not great at doing things, and you've got to teach yourself to become, say, more powerful and more capable. So it usually comes down to cleaning stuff, doing the little things that you know you should do but you don't, and then all of a sudden, once you've done 5 little things that you know you should do but don't, all of a sudden that medium-sized thing looks a lot less intimidating.
Yeah, so I think that's quite, I think people know that they inherently do it. to a degree. It's just being aware that that's something that you need to do so that you can almost schedule it before it becomes too problematic. It's like doing your movement prep before training. Like, you need to schedule it in, because otherwise it gets to a point where it gets really bad and then you're like, fuck, my back hurts, I should have kept up with my mobility. So it's like, we've talked so much on the show about just being really honest about who we are, why we do things. It's not to get negative about any of it. It's not to dwell on it. It's to be able to act on it. So every environment that you create for yourselves can be one that is more positive.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on to question 2, buddy.
Cool. Hi, Ben. I hope you're well. I was recently recommended your podcast, and I'm so grateful that I was. I find them so interesting and informative. I've been working my way through the back catalogue pretty much every day for the past couple of months, making good use of my hour commute. I do that as well. It's the best time to listen to podcasts. I have something that I'd love to get your opinion on, please. My question is a simple one, but I'll give you a bit of background on me first. I'm a 29-year-old female who spent the majority of my life overweight. I ate the wrong things and did half-assed workouts in the gym, mainly cardio. About 5 years ago, my now husband introduced me to weight training, and it completely changed my view on exercise. I loved it and actually enjoyed going to the gym rather than dreading it. I then also decided to educate myself in nutrition. It was only a cheap online course, but I took it seriously and took my time completing it to make sure I learned as much as possible. Armed with this new information and my new style of working out, my body started changing in ways I didn't think possible. I dropped about 2 stone, from 11 to 9 stone. I'm 5'5", and then I got addicted. I tracked my macros down to the gram. I was on around 1,700 to 1,800 calories. I exercised 6 times a week, doing a mixture of high-intensity interval training, heavy weight training and running. I dropped down to 8 stone, had visible abs, and felt really good. Needless to say, I obviously burnt out, and for various reasons, one being a hip injury that I'm still struggling with, my training eased up, and I also managed to find a healthy balance with food. I deleted MyFitnessPal, which was the biggest step, having used it daily for years. Now getting to my main point. During this time, about 7 months ago, I also decided to come off the contraceptive pill. I've been on it most of my adult life, originally for bad period pains, so I knew that it would take a while for my body to get back into a normal rhythm. However, 7 months later, I'm still yet to have a period. Although I'm not trying to conceive right now, it's something I want to start thinking about in the future. The doctors have not been great. Various test results show that I have polycystic ovaries, vitamin C deficiencies, slight anemia, and most worryingly, very low estrogen. The estrogen is what I'd like your help with. I've obviously Googled the crap out of everything related to this, and there are many foods that we're told can naturally boost estrogen levels. For example, soya, dried fruits, bran, leafy greens. I already ate very healthily, including veg and salad with almost every meal. I ate healthy fats, mainly salmon and avocado, but I've really upped my game in the last couple of months, trying to make sure my body is functioning at its best ability. I now eat around 2,000 to 2,200 calories a day, although I'm not tracking. Exercise 4 to 5 times a week, mixture of weight training and LISS, nothing too high intensity due to the hip. I spend most of my day at a desk, but avoid the tube like the plague in order to get around 12,000 steps a day. My main question: can we really increase estrogen with our diet? Because I'm downing soya milk and eating dates like there's no tomorrow, but I haven't found any paper research to prove this could help. I've also cut out dairy, as I've read various articles on dairy contributing to hormone imbalance. Your view on this, or anything else you could do to help increase my estrogen and get my period back, would be much appreciated. This was a lot longer than expected. If you've made it this far, thank you, and I really hope to hear your thoughts. Thanks, Chrissy.
Well, Chrissy, first step, well done for doing a nutrition course and educating yourself, because it sounds like you've been very much positively affected from the information. So, after all, knowledge is power. To look at your predicament, I'm probably going to be quite short on it because I don't think it's an intervention you can sort of look to do over a podcast. I very much, as a whole, from what you said, like the look of your diet. It looks like it contains some really good nutrient-dense foods. It looks like omega-3 and monounsaturated fats are really good. That means saturated fat is going to be decent. I'm assuming you're getting lots of fruit and vegetables in there. In terms of one thing that hasn't really come up, stress. I'd like to sort of maybe probe or just raise, how is your stress? You sound like you've either gone 2 ways. You went a little bit extreme with your diet and as a result of going, you went extreme because you've got a bit of a kind of all or nothing personality and you push yourself quite hard? And is there still a component there that is actually stressing out your body? Are you still pushing your body quite hard, but you don't think you're pushing it hard because you've got a high expectation of what you can do? So actually your diet right now, in your words, which is assumptive, you're assuming that you're on 2 to 2,200 calories a day, is still not that many more calories than what you were on before. Now, granted, it does say or does indicate that you might have been training harder before. But if you are training to a similar degree, you're only really eating 2, 3, maybe 400 calories more a day. And if you got quite badly burnt out before, it might be that you're still not eating enough. So that's the first thing. Might be eating enough, might be too stressed. If the estrogen thing is a legitimate problem, obviously the tests that we can get from the doctor are a starting point. Now the problem with hormones is that there can be many areas which can cause problems. So for example, if a hormone is high or low, that's obviously one component. But are the receptor sites that kind of take these signals, are they functioning properly? Is there the message feeding down into that hormone? So from the hypothalamus, the pituitary, is there a problem there? So the problem, if someone's got low estrogen, is not often, it's just low estrogen, because you've got to find out the root cause. So that's where you might get like a wider hormone panel done, and you might work with a practitioner that can really look at why that might be happening. I remember I was speaking to someone on Facebook yesterday, and he was talking about he had a genetic condition, because we were talking about steroid use, and he had a genetic condition which meant he had very low testosterone levels. He got tested, he found out, he now takes basically replacement low-level testosterone, and it's made a world of difference to his health. But he went and got the proper testing, found out why it was, and implemented the right kind of strategy. So I think you need to look at your approach still, your stress, and then you might look at wider hormonal testing. But Tom might have some ideas here as well.
Yeah, I was just quickly having a quick look around some information I had about contraceptives. So the first thing to say is that if you've been taking the pill for quite a long time and it was the pill that completely stopped your periods, then it can take 12 months plus to reset to normal. So the concern may be a little bit early. With that said, obviously it can be quite alarming, and I'm going to continue anyway. You mentioned in this that you got down to 8 stone from 11 and you had visible abs, and that was obviously due to relatively restrictive dieting in the sense that you weren't eating very much. You can tell that because you got down to 8 stone, which is it's impressive. You've done well. At 5'5", that's not extremely light, but it's quite light. You haven't mentioned if you've gained any weight since then. You said that you've relaxed a little bit on your exercise, but you haven't mentioned that you've gained any weight. So what I will say is that females, generally speaking, if they hit a very low body fat percentage, that can dysregulate your period. So it may be a case that you may need to gain some weight a little bit if you are still at that very light point. Not loads, but if you were to get back up to say maybe 9 stone, that may help. The other thing that kind of jumped out a little bit is that you eat 2,200 calories a day, but you don't track, which means that you can't necessarily be as accurate as that as we would like. And therefore, I'm going to take that with a little pinch of salt. I realise, Chrissy, that this may not apply to you, but it can be useful information to the other listeners that are listening anyway. With female athletes, there's a thing that we need to pay attention to called energy availability, which is, if you let me get this right, it's the amount of calories that you consume per kilogram of lean body mass once exercise calories are taken into account. So let's say you eat 2,000 calories a day, you use 500 calories to exercise. That means you've got 1,500 calories of non-exercise calories, and that will be divided by the amount of kilograms of lean body mass you have. So if that drops below 30 calories per kilogram, that can cause disruptions to your period. That's the threshold where what we know as the female athlete triad comes in. Female athlete triad includes amenorrhea, which is lost period, bone loss. I'm forgetting the proper name for that, which is terrible, but I'm on a podcast, so I'm nervous. And potential for developing eating disorders. So they're the three things that come with the female athlete triad. Now, I've done a quick calculation. So at 8 stone, you were 50 kilograms. Let's say 20% body fat is your elite female. It's 40 kilograms of lean body mass, which means you've got 1,200 calories of that. 1,200 calories will be your 30-calorie threshold. So if you are misreporting by 300-400 calories, which is very doable, people will overestimate their energy intake by up to 50%. So that's definitely within the realms of responsibility. There is a potential that you're just not eating enough. And what I would probably recommend is that, if possible, getting some loose tracking, which will allow you to track calories, not necessarily in macros. You've had issues with that in the past. But if you can get a rough idea of how many calories you're eating that's a little bit more accurate than what you have now, that may unearth the reason why your period hasn't come back. It may just be a case that you're not eating enough. And one thing that we see there's been a couple of case studies that have come out from female physique athletes, is that if you have lost weight to be a very low point, it can take 6+ months for hormones to come back to normal. So, as I said at the start, regarding the pill, it may just be a case of waiting a little bit longer. But if you are still very light, gaining a little bit of weight might not be the worst thing in the world. You mentioned now that you do a mixture of weight training and low intensity steady state cardio. It may be a good idea, if that low intensity steady state is quite high volume, to drop that back a little bit and just give your body a bit more of a rest. That's kind of all I had on that.
Yeah, I'd say it's generally harder to manage for a female to manage health in an optimal state when you are, ab lean, when you've got your abs right out. I definitely think there is a higher percentage of females that just do not do well at that level of body fat from a health perspective, and we're quite often, as a result, seeing fatigue, anemia, vitamin deficiencies, irregular hormonal cycles. We don't quite get that in men. Men's hormonal systems seem to be a little bit more resilient to the stress environment and being in a lower body fat percentage, and it's probably because we don't have to have a system that is geared up to be able to create another person.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, that's not to say that women who have abs are necessarily unhealthy. Not at all. But it does carry a greater risk than it would for a man. So if you are still very, very lean, that may just be something that's worth considering. But yeah, even if in the women who do maintain abs year round, you've got to look at a genetic component to that. So it may just be a case that they store fat elsewhere. But also they tend to eat quite a lot. So they are staying above that 30 calorie per kilo point. I can think of a few from social media, but yeah. So.
All right, Tom, thank you for your time. We're ending the show there. We're not doing the last question because we've run out of time, my side. Cool. For everyone that's listening, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed it, show us some love on social media. If you see it, tag someone in. Say, hey, dude, I think you might like the show, because that would help us grow the show. If you've never written us a review on iTunes, please leave us a review on iTunes. That would help the show grow hugely. And if you would like your question answered on the show, then email bencoomber@gmail.com. I know that Chrissy brought up nutrition courses. Our nutrition course, its doors are open for sign-ups. You can leave a deposit. You can secure your place. It starts on September the 4th. You will get untapped access to me and Tom, who teach and mentor the students on the course. It is the Body Type Nutrition Foundation Academy. If you go to bodytypenutrition.co.uk, click on the Academy tab. You can find out more. You can learn via a mobile app. We'll support you every step of the way. You get a massive geeky textbook, and we'll turn you into a nutritional ninja.
Hell yeah.
Right, Tom, mic drop. We are out of here.
Ladies,
Thank
thanks
you for
everyone.
listening, everyone, and we will see you all next week. In the meantime, stay awesome. Hey everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode number 271.